All right. Well, so my name is Erwin, and here we are once again getting to know what I believe to be Chicago's best comedians. And today, here we are with.
My name is Tristan A. Smith.
Yeah, so Tristan, when I first started doing open mics in Chicago, I believe you were like the second person that I ever asked for like their Instagram because you were that's like how good I thought you were the first time I saw you. I started doing open mics like 3 years ago.
Oh wow,
So,
I'm really flattered. I didn't realize.
So I've been at least seeing you for at least a little while. So in that whole time, for sure, one of the like biggest opinions I've had is that like this is a cerebral dude. This is someone like who's like a genuine, what I feel to be like a genuine comic, like someone who kind of embodies that at least in the stage presence, like the material you do, like so. Someone like I've definitely been wanting to speak for a little while.
This is incredibly kind. I didn't expect this at all.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Are you from here? Are you from Chicago?
Yeah, born and raised Chicago, South Side, a neighborhood called Bronzeville. I don't know how familiar you are with. Yeah, are you from here as well?
I was basically raised here, born in Mexico, but raised here.
Sure, yeah. That's a lot of my friends have the same story or very similar paths. Yeah. We're in Mexico, if you don't. I know this isn't an interview about you, but
it's great. I was born in a place called La Paz, Baja California Sur. It's right under California.
Mm-hmm.
But I lived there for 2 years, then moved to the main to Mexico City. So
That's
so
like a giant, like 25 million people or something, like crazy.
Oh
amount
yeah.
of people.
yeah, ridiculous. Yeah, I lived there for 2 years. Then I came here when I was 4.
Okay, so you were basically a baby.
But,
You could
don't really remember much about Mexico. Well, at least when I was little. I've been there, more recently, but
Sure.
but at least from when I was a kid, I don't really remember shit. Oh yeah. So you were born here.
Yes.
Awesome. Do you feel that has influenced your comedy and stuff? Yeah.
I think that I think this has kind of been a rule for a little while in terms of like the industry in Hollywood. I think that comedy comes through Chicago, like really good comedy, both sketch and stand-up comedy and like improv. And I think that no matter how you get to Chicago, as long as you spend some time in Chicago, I think you get funnier, whether you're born here or whether you like emigrate here from whatever city, state or country you choose to. I think just being here tends to make you better for a few different reasons.
Oh, that's true. I feel maybe one of those reasons is like the diversity and stuff. Just the difference in people is what oftentimes I feel brings out the funny.
Yes,
And so, how did you get your start into comedy?
I didn't start with stand-up immediately. When I was 18, I took an improv class, and that was just I needed to get out of my head. I was really into acting. I've loved acting my whole life, and I was going to school for it. And in between sophomore junior year at college, I was like, I gotta figure out how to be a better actor. And if I'm not so stuck, sort of like not being able to like express emotions, like if I'm just too in my head, a good way to get out of that would be improv. So I tried it, and I ended up really liking it. And I was really funny. And my teacher, I bumped into her like a year later, and she's like, I really think you should look into Second City. And then I did Second City, and for another couple of years, and I did like sketch comedy and improv, and writing, and then after all those programs were done, I was like, okay, well, what next? And then I had a weird history with stand up, where
how's that?
so 18 was when I started the improv stuff. I tried stand up. I took a class when I was 22. For stand-up comedy, and I quit the class. I didn't finish it. I was in a bad headspace. Like my mom had passed away. She died when I was 20, and I was 22. I was still, it doesn't matter if it's 2 years, 10 years. You're still feeling it no matter what.
Of course, yeah.
but yeah, I was very much in the throes of grief at that time, and I was just like, I can't really dedicate the time to this class. I gotta take a break.
For sure.
So then I didn't do stand up again for 3 more years. At 25, I randomly just like had a bunch of nervous energy, and I went to an open mic at a place called Town Hall Pub. It's if you ever have seen one of Hannibal Buress' specials, he talks about how he used to always bomb at Town Hall.
What's that?
It was like one of like the historic, old open mics. I did one set there, and then I didn't do stand-up comedy again for another 3 years. And then at 28 years old, I ended up going to a couple of friends who were doing a sketch comedy show. They were friends who had actually kicked me out of their sketch group. And I was, but like, I still like, we're still friends.
Yeah.
It just, I was coming late to meetings and stuff. Yeah, it just wasn't working out. So, so I got to see the show that they finished without me. And then after the show, they made an announcement over the speakers and saying, hey, just so you know, anybody in the audience, we're going to have an open mic after this. If anybody feels like watching, we'd love you to stay. We're not going to charge you anything. And I didn't know that open mics were free. And so I was like, oh, well, they're not charging. I'm getting another show. Yeah, I might as well. So I stayed and watched. And then like 3 or 4 comics into the mic, I was like, I think I'm going to have to give this another chance. So then I came back like the next week and like, and then I've been doing comedy ever since. And that was 10 years ago now.
Snap.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like I've definitely feel a little bit kind of had at least the same mentality, because I also had my father died when I was 15, and
okay, my condolences.
And so thank you. And that definitely, like you said, yeah, you don't really get over that. So it's like for a while, like throughout like all of high school, I was like super out of it, depressed and shit. And then after it, I was like finally felt a little bit of freedom, just not having to having to go to school every fucking day and shit. It's like, okay, I can finally just think about what the hell I want to do instead type shit. And it's like I also kind of came to that. It's like I gotta get out of my headspace. I gotta go out and but to be honest, I didn't freaking even like know about stand-up comedy until I was like 18.
Yeah,
because I had known about like comedians and stuff, like maybe like Dave Chappelle, but just through their shows or stuff like that, like other things they had done, like movies, like Eddie Murphy and shit. They do like, also actors and shit, but I didn't know like actual stand-up comedy as a craft until until like I was like 18. And then I really just liked it. And then when I was like 23ish, 22, that's when not like 23, that was when I first was like, okay, how the hell do I get into this shit?
Okay.
And also to really be like, I'm just gotta I gotta get out there to really do something with myself, because keeping yourself in like a negative headspace for too long, that's just not where you want to be and shit.
Very true.
Yeah, but I feel like that's probably something a lot of comedians could probably relate to. Yeah, being through some dark shit.
There's a lot of depression in comedy. If you're not, I don't know how many interviews you've done, but if your audience is watching, they should know.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a running theme. Yeah, running theme. Yep, for sure. So, what do you feel is like maybe like a major difference between like your sketch comedy and stand-up? You feel?
The biggest difference, like from the get-go, is just with sketch comedy, you have other people. So like you're sort of sharing the burden, sharing the spotlight, and that can be good and bad. Like the failures are shared, the success is shared, and you do really get like a lot of community in sketch comedy. There's a weird thing in sketch comedy, no matter what city, where there's like just not a ton of black performers or people of color in general. It's a lot of mostly white
that sounds right.
And like you can, there's a lot of pictures if you go to like IO or something, just like the one black person in the sketch group, and that's if they're lucky. Like a lot of times it's just like 8 white people, like 5 white dudes, 3 white women, and just like nobody for miles. So the diversity, Chicago's diverse, but improv not always. But yeah, it's so those are a few main differences, and sketch comedy is super fun, but I feel like it's very light. Like you talked about comedians having depression, and that is, for stand-up comics, that's very true. I feel like for sketch comics, they might have that depression, but they don't like show it as much in like, because it's hard to have like a sketch comedy scene, at least where you can like focus on depression. You might have like a character who's kind of a bummer, but the entire scene can't be like about people going through like a horrific crisis. But you can have a sketch comedy set about like being at your lowest, or stand-up comedy set about being at your lowest, and like it can still be funny. You can talk about awful things. I mean, Richard Pryor, like he'll talk about like drug addiction. He'll talk about setting himself on fire, and people are like laughing their asses off. Like you can pull that off more clearly if you're by yourself. If you're with a group of people, and you don't want to see a sketch comedy group act out Richard Pryor being on fire.
The whole scene played out again. Jesus Christ. Yeah, all right, awesome. Yeah. Recently, you were on the the vouch auditions.
Sure.
How was that?
The vouch auditions, for anybody in the audience who is watching, is it's a series of auditions. They're 2 a month at different open mics around the city in Chicago, and the idea behind it is to have it be like a funnel for Chicago comedians who have been overlooked to audition for sort of the higher end showcases in Chicago. They do this twice a month. I haven't really done many of them. I've done 3 auditions, and the one that Erwin's talking about is I did my second audition. I ended up getting to like the callback round basically. Okay. So my audition was at this bar called it's a Wednesday night spot, Trace.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of, the room was just really bad when a lot of audition showcases happen. Sometimes people can be so focused on just what they have to do that they're not really good audience members. Like open mics are already bad in general. And then having an opportunity at the end of it makes a bad thing worse in terms of like just trying to get like feedback or just like laughter or anything.
Yeah, true.
So I ended up finding out after the audition that it was like the worst audience they'd ever had for any of them. Like it was just like the most depressed audience. But I still did reasonably well even in those circumstances. I still got laughter. I still had a set that I felt proud of. Nice. And then I ended up moving on to the next round of the auditions, or the next round of like the showcase, which is a longer set in Laugh Factory. And Laugh Factory is like one of the historic clubs in Chicago. So it was a pretty big opportunity. I hadn't performed at Laugh Factory probably in 3 years before that. I felt just happy to have the opportunity. And then the Laugh Factory showcase is really another audition, but this time you're like directly in front of the bookers who run a lot of like cooler venues. Okay. And that audition went really well. Although there's some weird behind the scenes stuff that kind of went wrong. Whenever you do any stand up show, there's always like a running order of comedians of like what order you perform in. Yeah. And it's pretty simple. You're like, all right, I'm third on the lineup. I'll be ready when my time comes. For whatever reason, the host Brandon Kiefer mistook my name for somebody else's and called me in the wrong order. He called me up earlier than I was supposed to go, so I didn't get a chance to set up my camera. So I have no proof of this. I can't prove that I did well, but I had a very good set.
That's like the one place you want to have.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I would have had that like Laugh Factory backdrop. I could the idea was like I'll send this footage to festivals and like try to like
send you further.
So and that's kind of a common thing that happens in comedy too, where like every time you think you've reached the mountaintop, you find out that you haven't. Like something goes wrong, something stupid happens, or just like it just isn't what it's cracked up to be. I do this set and it goes really well. Again, no proof of it at all. But there was also another camera filming. That camera, they also haven't gotten back to me on the footage. I feel I cannot prove this to anybody.
Take your word for this shit.
But there were 5 showcases that we're watching, and I got 4 of them, which is a pretty. That's a huge thing. I'll take that any day of the week. Yeah, those are 5 showcases that weren't booking me before. You know, so
yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah. That feels like the polar opposite of my experience, because I've only been to one of those auditions, and it was probably like the worst mic I've ever done.
Yeah,
just
like your set or just the room.
My set, like I personally like. I was gonna do, material that I was comfortable with, that, I had been doing for at least like a year now.
Yeah,
and it's so but I go up there and I literally forget my first joke, and right away I'm like, oh fuck, and then instead of like trying to save myself some other way, I try to go back to it, and then once I do that, I'm like, oh, this shit's over. And so I shat myself basically in front of everybody. So I I haven't been back to at least one of those voucher auditions.
I can understand that.
Just yet. Although, I mean, I feel I have at least improved a little bit as a comedian, but
yeah, I'm sure. No one's as bad as their worst set.
That was definitely a terrible place to have your worst set, to be honest.
Yeah.
If it wasn't even as bad as like other shitty open mics I've been to and stuff, so it's like fucking not the place to shit yourself. Well, that's awesome. So you got more showcases from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Which is that's why that opportunity exists. It's to hopefully like put a spotlight on people who weren't getting it before.
Yeah, go even further. That's awesome, man. So besides your what are your, do you have like a, let's say, top 3 or comedians that you look up to?
Sure. Yeah, it's well, like, do you mean Chicago comics or do you mean
just
like?
any.
Okay, I'll give both. I'll give the famous comics and the Chicago comics.
Cool.
For famous comics, I really like Gerard Carmichael. I saw him for the first time actually in person right at the end of last year, which is a cool thing to be able to see. Gerard Carmichael, Michael Che, big fan of him too, from Saturday Night Live. And then I feel like it's the third person just kind of just changes depending on my mood. But like in this moment, I'll say Bill Burr. Okay. Even though I haven't finished his last special, his most recent special. But yeah, he's I like where his head is at. It seems like right now in this moment, like it really feels like he's sort of coming into his own in a different way. Mm-hmm. I think he's also got really like thoughtful advice on comedy. Like he's talked about this thing about like sort of the progression your mindset has in your career. So like when you first start out, and let's say you get booked for a room where the audience is kind of like the opposite of your comedy, where they're just like it's people who don't quite appeal to your sensibilities. When that happens, when you're like a newer comic, your thought process is, well, what material do I have that could appeal to them? How do I sort of craft a set that works for these people? And then, later on, after a while, you're like, well, what do I want to talk about? So then, like, your comedy becomes that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and this is the moment that he was in at that at that moment. He's like, now my comedy is, what doesn't this audience want to hear? And can I make that funny? Like, can I tell this audience the exact opposite of the thing they're looking for and still crush with it? And I think it was interesting to sort of see that roadmap and hear him talk about that, because I'd never considered that before.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think he's great. I think he's really thoughtful. He seems to kind of have everything you'd want in a comedy career.
Yeah, that reminds me of Louis C.K. kind of had he's like, as a comic, you go down like the list of things to talk about. It's like you talk about other people, other things, then you talk about yourself, and then it's like you gotta dig deeper. It's like maybe so you gotta start talking about like things that have happened to you. You gotta start digging way down into your balls and shit, until you start running out of things to talk about and shit. And it's like I also feel myself in that progression of like starting to I don't know if you've heard like the expression to dig deep when when people are talking about you're writing about comedy. I feel I'm finally starting to like understand that, like to actually talk about your experiences and try to turn them into something funny that people can at least relate to as well and shit.
Is there anything you're working on right now that you're like really proud of? You don't have to like say the whole bit or something, but just like
no, I've for sure like I've been talking about like my dad and for sure that that it really exemplifies that, because usually like for sure when I first started, like because I started from just before stand up, I really liked the philosophy, so I just was like writing down my thoughts and whatever, just writing shit down, and but there was like a lot of incoherency between just random thoughts and stuff, and so my comedy at first was a lot more just not even necessarily one-liners, but just this thought, this, and just shit not really connecting and stuff, just like just one-offs and stuff. Whereas now I've been able to, like, I had at least maybe like 15 minutes of material that was just that, like just random thoughts, and now I've been able to craft at least a new 10 minutes of just like my experiences, what I've like growing up, being Mexican, my dad, my mom a little bit, my grandma recently, so and I do also feel that also changes like even my stage presence, because now it's not so much like me trying to recite jokes that I've like written down before. Now it's me like interacting and sharing something with the crowd that's like personal to me, and that's also another something I feel important, like as a comedian, that you should be able to do with your audiences, like to craft that closeness, and to almost feel like if it's like an inside joke with someone, that like relatability you have with someone, that like as soon as you say something, it's like exactly what you're talking about. So I feel like that's something that you have to be able to craft as a comedian, and sharing personal experiences often relates to a crowd more, because now they see you as like a little bit more human. They can see you more like, oh, I've been through stuff like that. I see the little similarities and shit. So you can actually create a better relationship with your crowd. Yeah. I don't know. Do you feel you've had that experience with your?
Well, yeah, we'll say a lot of what you said feels really right on. And I remember earlier on somebody telling me, like when I was starting out, that audiences weren't really getting to know me from my comedy, because like I was probably the same as you, just like it was just, even if it was funny, it was just like bits about just like honestly a lot of pop culture stuff, or just like random just sort of like events in the news. It wasn't like there wasn't really a lot of, there was thoughtfulness behind it, and I think you'd have to like analyze it to like figure out the real me. But when I got more introspective, when I like really like dove a little bit deeper, I ended up sharing parts of myself, like deeper stuff with myself, and I really feel like I've turned a corner a couple different times in comedy, and I feel like this year is even more of like finding myself in my stand-up, and finding sort of like the way that I think, and sharing that with audiences, because it's there's a weird thing that happens, I think, in all of art, is like when you get incredibly specific, when you get like really truly like deep down into it, that's when it ends up becoming universal.
Yep.
And like it's funny how like we like, especially with like pain, like there are certain things that we think that only we can understand, like only we've gone through it. Like if you get your heart broken, you're like, well, only I really know what that feels like. Literally everybody on the planet has had a debilitating heartbreak, but it's like, no, man, you don't know how much you meant to me. But like we do actually.
You don't understand, man. You don't understand.
But yeah, if you get down into like your loneliness about the heartbreak, about you losing your father, about losing my mom, it will shock you the amount of people that'll like, you know, talk to you after shows and be like, hey, this meant a lot to me when you said that. I have a joke where I talk about feeling suicidal, you know, some years ago, and like that is by far the joke that like will get people to either talk to me directly after a show, or sometimes just like they'll, you know, once in a blue moon, if like somebody recognizes me on the street, they'll be like, there was some joke you said, like I think it was about like killing yourself. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
Hell yeah, that's great. What has so far been like your worst experience in comedy?
Okay, it's a little bit of a story. I hope you don't mind.
Oh hell yeah, that's great.
So you know how I said I hadn't done Laugh Factory in 3 years. Not the very last time I'd done Laugh Factory, but the time before the last time I had my worst set ever there. It was like 2021. It was like things were just opening up from like the shutdown. And I had been and it was also like the best week of my comedy career up to that point. Like I had 7 shows in 7 days. It was the first time in my career I'd ever been able to have that happen before.
Nice.
So it's a really cool accomplishment. Yeah. Like the show just went through a few different phases basically. So like it was, people were like, you know, it was the end of shutdown. People were just getting out of the house for the first time. People didn't really know how to act. It was a Friday late night show, which like at clubs that can be kind of a legendarily bad show because it's like you've worked a full work day. If it's late night, you might be quite drunk. It's like, you know, the show's supposed to start at like 10 something. It started at like almost midnight. So like things have you're already playing against like a stacked deck. I had a joke that I've been working on that was like one sentence away from working. Like I tried it at some shows, I tried it at mics, and I was like, this is a mostly good joke, but I'm one sentence away from figuring out, like, cause like it would hit a wall and I wouldn't be able to get past it. And it was a joke about the cops shooting a child. Like the cops shot a kid, killed a kid. It's obviously very sad. The city protested. I went to the protest. And then part of the way through the protest, I started thinking, if we keep walking, I'm going to hit my step goal for the day. and then on some level, the cops killing kids is saving me. And then I just need about like 10 kids to die, and then I'll be like in physical fitness. And like the children are my future. It was a lot of it was a really good joke. It ended up being like one of my best jokes. But I hadn't quite figured it out before that show. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna open with that joke. And here's the funny thing: I actually did figure it out on that show. I swear to God. Like this will sound unlikely, but I did figure out the joke, and that was the first time it actually worked. Now it was worked in its entirety. There were probably like let's say 81 people at that show. 75 of them liked that joke. 6 of them didn't, and those 6 were incredibly vocal about it. So then I was like, all right, and they were also this group of audience members were being dicks before that part even happened. Like there was another comic who went up who was doing just normal material. He talked about like having a cat and his cat being silly, like nothing that would offend anybody. And they were angry at this dude for they were already on one. And I had to follow this dude, and I was like, all right, well, whatever. I'm going to talk about this police shooting. Again, I want to be clear. The bit worked mostly for the vast majority of the people in that room. So I started doing something like, all right, I'm getting a little bit of roadblock with him. I'm going to try other stuff that works. Now, a thing I didn't realize is like a lot of my material that works well is when I talk about race. This group of people were also black. And they, but like, when I open with the police shooting stuff and then talk about make fun of black culture, it looks like I'm an Uncle Tom, and I didn't realize that was what they were perceiving. And I want to be clear: I'm not an Uncle Tom. I was at the protest. If anything, I was probably more militant than a lot of people. But that wasn't. There was no room for nuance at midnight Laugh Factory on Friday. And just so many things are not working, and I keep digging myself a deeper hole, thinking I'm going to dig myself out of it because I'm just doing more race jokes.
Just keep going.
And they're not fucking with me at all. And then I just leave the stage early. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to deal with this. And the audience erupts in like joy because like they beat a comedian. And then like the host is like the host comes on and she's like, he's gone now. Stop saying, stop doing this. And she has to like settle them down for like 2 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
And then so then the headliner, like a couple more comics go on. The headliner goes on, a dude named T Murph, very funny dude. He at the time was on a TV show called Woke. It was on Hulu. He's a very funny comic. Like I said, the TV show thing. He's not just like TV show, like an actor who decided to become a comedian. He was always a comedian who just got an opportunity. Anywho, T Murph is headlining, and I've known T Murph for a couple of years by that point. And he decides to, midway through a set, defend me because he's like, hey, I don't think what happened was right. And the audience who had been feeling him every joke before this,
up until then,
when he mentions me, those 6 people were just like, no, don't you dare defend him, don't you. And he's like, nah, man. He's like, he didn't do anything wrong. And these 6 people were not hearing it. So it's like, all right, well, and I'm just sitting there watching the whole thing because I can't walk past him because like I don't want, because you have to like at Laugh Factory, the way it is, there's not like a separate green room where you can sort of like be hidden from the audience. You have to walk like from the stage past the audience to get out the room. So I'm just staying in the room because I'm like, I don't want some shit to pop off because I walk past him and somebody hates me or whatever, or maybe I say something, who knows. And I'm just like, let me just stay right here. So I'm just watching people hate me and someone try to defend me, and it's just not working. So he's like, all right, I'm just doing. He just goes, I'm gonna do my material now. He did more percent, and he had a very good set, which is also like the weirdest record scratch of just being like, I'm watching a guy kill, try to defend me, and just be like, all right, well, if like basically bombing by trying to defend me and then kill again. Never mind. Like, all right. Now where this story gets good for me again is that experience ends up becoming my closer. Like because basically what ended up happening is I had a new intro to start that joke where I'd be like, recently I had one of the best weeks of my comedy career. I did 7 shows in 7 days. 6 of them went well. One of them went so poorly, the members of the audience heckled me and then threatened me. And then actually, I didn't tell you this part, waited for me outside to try to fight me. So let me explain that part of the story too. All right. So, but like, I'd be like, they waited for me outside. And then then in the opening for that joke, I'd be like, does anybody want to hear the joke that made that audience so angry? And then the audience is like, yeah, we want to hear that. So like every show after that, it became like And I even ended up closing my first special using that bit. So like everything from as low as it was, it became a huge triumph. Like this, so it's there. I have no complaints. But let me talk about how they ended up waiting for me. So so I'm waiting in this venue. I'm like, I can't walk past him. Who knows what's gonna happen? Unbeknownst to me, somebody at management called security. Like they have like, I guess like a contractor security person who can sometimes like come down if needed. So that person comes down, and I'm waiting for the entire room to clear out. At the same time, different audience members are sneakily coming to me and saying, hey, we like your joke. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry this is happening to you. This is also like, where were you when I needed you? Like,
we just speak up early.
But like, yo, for real, people. So it was the weirdest moment. I'm just sitting, just stewing in the bomb, and just like this real. Never like unprecedented like low and like security comes and he's like, they have to get me out through the emergency exit. Kyron Harrell, I will always shout out this dude's name. He's a friend of mine. He was a very new comic at the time, and he was watching the show with me. He wasn't even on the show. He was just watching, hanging out at Laugh Factory, and he like sees all this happen. And he offers to give me a ride home. So Kyron goes out, pulls his car out in front of Laugh Factory, I have to be escorted by security to his car, past the same 6 motherfuckers who are outside like they about to do some shit. And I don't even look at him. I don't look at him. The security guard goes, "Hey, don't do anything." So I'm like, they were about to. Are you for real? And like I have to like run into Kyron's car, and then like he drives off and delivers me to safety.
Jesus, man.
But yeah, when you ask for what's my worst set, that one. by a really large margin.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've basically been kicked off of stage 2, but at least people didn't wait for me after.
Yeah, and actually I found this out later. One of the another comic who wasn't on the show, but just like got some intel afterwards. She was like, "Oh yeah, they were gang members."
Oh, no.
I was like, "Oh well, I definitely didn't want any smoke. I just wanted to tell a joke. The whole thing, I just wanted to be funny. I didn't know that you all were killing kids, and you were mad that I brought it up."
Really hit a nerve there. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we reached the 30 minutes.
Yeah,
And usually I would ask for a joke to get to know you, but I feel like you just went over a whole thing. That's pretty good there. All right. So with that, we've reached the end here. So once again, man, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for interviewing me.
Yeah, especially for letting me come down to your place here. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I will say just one little thing, if you don't mind. If you want to see that joke and other jokes like that, I do have a special out. I mentioned.
Where can we find you? All your social medias and stuff like that.
Oh, sure. All my social medias have the exact same handle. It's at Where's Trist, WhereSTrist. And then if you want to find the special, you can just go to YouTube. The title of it is Tristan A. Smith live from the Raven Room. And yeah, you'll see that joke and many other jokes. It's a half-hour special. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm really proud of it.
Awesome. Hell yeah. Yeah, he's great comic. That's why he's on here. All right. So with that, we're out of here.